The Joe Rogan Experience.
We'll
Comedy
least
club
zoom it into
owners,
that.
we have such a complicated relationship with them because we need them and we don't want to do it. I don't want to fucking run a goddamn comedy club, but we need one. To have some guy who's dealing with a bunch of maniacs like us day in, day out, every week, coming in and telling jokes and getting drunk and smoking weed in the green room and all the chaos.
It's
that comes.
essential to the art form.
Yeah,
The
we need
existence of the comedy club is essential.
them. 100%.
You ever get scared that the young people don't really go to clubs, don't really fuck with clubs?
Yes, I do.
It's going to change the business model, like in the next decade.
Well, one of the beautiful things about comedy clubs, though, is that we all use them. Like, even if you're doing arenas, like, you use comedy clubs. You use comedy clubs to exercise. Like, Chappelle comes in all the time and does the belly room. That's a 70-seat room. That dude just strolls on in. It'll be half
Intimate.
full. Yep, and he'll do 40 fucking minutes. And that is so critical, man. It's so important to get that work in.
That's why I don't like when a lot of the vets attack the, as they call them, Instagram comedians or the Vine, or not Vine anymore, but you know what the fuck I'm saying.
comedians,
Yeah,
yeah.
they get mad at them because the club will book them and they'll go, well, the live show is trash and it's terrible. And it's true for most of them. It's not the greatest performance because they haven't had the chops yet.
Yeah.
But they sold 300 paid tickets and everybody ate and drank. What do you think is keeping the lights on for your 30% selling capacity ass to come back in next year and the next year to go from 30% sold to 40% sold? They're not making no money off of you. But if these IG comedians can come in and at least help keep the lights on, I think in the greater scheme of comedy, there's more good than bad.
I agree.
That comes from that. And I also feel like there's a level of ignoring the tools that they've been able to use to get an audience in lieu of the fact that they don't put new stand-up on TV anymore unless it's contest shit. Comedy Central just started with the Live at the Cellar shit, but other than that, I mean, it hasn't been a lot.
Well, no one's even watching TV anymore. I mean, the numbers on regular TV programs are so low now. Like, if you're doing a set on Conan, like, did we went over this, right? Like, the numbers are like less than 400,000 people watch it a night.
Yeah, that's live. That might be live plus 3.
Yeah.
On top of that, that might not even be just live. That might be live plus DVR over the next 3 days.
It's crazy. So no one's watching anything anymore. If you can get onto a stage, the way I feel about Instagram comedians or YouTube comedians is if you're doing stand-up, you're a comic. You might be a shitty comic, and you might be a famous shitty comic because you're famous from Vine or whatever the fuck it is. But you're a comic. Like, it's whether or not you decide to become a real comic and actually do the work and put in the time and then one day be... Look, I hope we see these YouTube comics and they're fucking terrible, and then you go to see them 7-8 years later and they're murdering. They're crushing. Great timing.
Yeah.
Great premises. I'm like, we got one. We need more. This is a hard gig. Think about what you had to do when you were starting. Think about you traveling around to all those fucking things, getting on a bus to do open mics. They had an open mic once a month. That takes a kind of grit and resolve that most people don't
But
have.
this shit is like hazing, where the old heads feel like, well, they didn't suffer the way I suffered, therefore your success is invalid.
I don't take that. I don't
Because
buy
you
into
didn't
that.
do it the way I did it. This is the only way to do it. The game evolves. The points of access. It's like comedy is like, to me, it's like a fucking grocery store, and you've been in line. You've been in this checkout line, and then a new checkout line opens, and then all these fuckers just cruise through that checkout, and you're still stuck in the same waiting to get a Tonight Show set line, and the Instagram line opens, and people just start whisking through to success, and you don't know whether or not to change lines or stay in this one.
Well, the beautiful thing about comedy is you don't have to get out of the line. You just open up a new line, open up an Instagram line, open up a YouTube line. You can do all those things.
But they ain't been waiting in line as long as me. So why do they get to leave the store? You know, you have that jealousy, that little piece of jealousy when someone has not been in line as long as you leaves the grocery store before you. That's comedy now.
It is, but it's wasted energy. You can't think about that. You can't, like, you should think about that the same way you think about someone having success in some field that has nothing to do with yours. Like, if someone is a Nobel Prize winning scientist, like, fuck, I could have done that. Yeah, but you didn't. It's really the same thing.
I could have thought of that app.
It has nothing to do. But some people are like that. Some people see someone with like a startup, some internet startup, and it makes $1 billion, and they get angry. They get angry but no, go fucking do something. Don't worry about what other people are doing. It's a giant waste of your energy.
Yo, I read a book, Rebel Without a Crew. I think it's Rich Rodriguez. I think is his name. And he was a filmmaker, and he made I can't remember the name of the movie, but it was the prequel to what became Desperado.
Oh, Robert Rodriguez?
Yes.
That guy? Yeah.
And he talked about just shooting that shit guerrilla, and for essentially pennies, less than $10,000, shot a whole ass film and walks through how he cut the corners. And then you think of how they shot Paranormal Activity for like $55,000, $50,000 or $60,000. The first Paranormal Activity was dirt cheap. They shot the first Saw for $1 million in 30 days in one building.
Whoa.
Every scene in the car, they're just shaking the fucking camera and jump cutting. $1 billion franchise getting rebooted now. Like that. Like when I see shit like that, I don't get jealous. I go, well, fuck, I need to go and fucking guerrilla some shit together and learn. And so that's why I started trying to learn like fucking video editing, audio editing, and all that shit, man.